General is he?
Okay, go play now. Play with your grenades and your Kalishnikov.
He will use the passing of our great king as a sign to attack the weak one.
The weak one? Am I the weak one?
You are not strong or ruthless as I am.
Son, I know we never had to talk about this, but I always assumed that you had sex with your betas. I know I do.
Okay, Kang.
I spoiled you, my son.
My son works! We've gone to a great deal of trouble to select for you a very fine wife. Since the day she was born, she was taught to walk and speak and think as a queen.
Ever since I was born, I've been trained to serve you.
We gotta bust out of this bullshit, man. Why? Where are we going? Home. A home that we can build.
You got money.
Together. Look, I just want to apologize. I know this isn't exactly the wedding you've always imagined.
I don't know why you would apologize. Couldn't be perfect.
Are you sure about that?
I've said that femininity is a way of life, so one woman's template may not work for another. But a big part of creating a template that works for you is through having the base understanding of the relationship between the divine masculine and feminine energy. Understanding their dance makes it easier to find and maintain the balance within yourself, as well as in the world around you. Femininity is not strictly about being attractive to men, but we do live in a patriarchal world, so it's still important to understand the way they think and relate to feminine energy. With the passing of Father's Day, and taking into account I've already touched on mommy issues, I felt inspired to discuss daddy issues and their effects on patriarchs. Being a woman with daddy issues has its own, well, issues that get brought up a lot in society, albeit not out of genuine concern for the affected women. But we don't often talk about the effects of these issues on men. You see, the same way a man with mommy issues will have issues with how he relates to women, a man with daddy issues will have trouble relating to and actually being a good man. As amazing as we women are, it is generally impossible for us to teach a man how to be a man simply because we literally are not men. We can talk to them, of course, but our primary function as their mothers is to demonstrate the ideal woman. It is up to his father, or a father figure, to set the example for how to be a man, and by proxy, how to treat women. Talking can only do so much. I think it's important for children, and especially boys, being that men are very visual creatures, to actually witness the ideal example being set for them. Quick disclaimer before I get into today's analysis. I am not the type of movie channel that is going to consistently upload rants about bad movies. Even though, ironically enough, I did watch a lot of these types of channels during my formative years, which is probably a big part of why I do analyze films the way I do. But I don't actually enjoy watching and ragging on crappy movies. If I do mention a technically incompetent film, it's always going to be because there's a deeper moral or message that needs discussing. With that said, the Coming to America series is a shitty minstrel show. When these were going viral a few months back, I avoided watching and making a video about them because my expectations were already extremely low, and like I said, there is no enjoyment in simply saying a bad movie is bad. I will say that, comparing the two, the first one is clearly the superior movie, but that is less of a compliment and more of a testament to how bad the second one is. Like, you would really have to try to make a worse movie. Sitting through the second movie confirmed for me that not only are most celebrities, black male celebrities in particular, spineless sellouts, they are also enormous trolls. At first glance, the sequel seems like it's a typical lazy paycheck for all involved, but when I really sat and analyzed the imagery, plot, and tropes, also taking into account that, whether we like it or not, most of these people are sort of role models for the black community. This movie is problematic on a sinister and maliciously calculated level. The first lesson here is there is no such thing as a coincidental ignorance when it comes to these big budget productions. Everything has an agenda behind it. Both of these movies are rife with misogynoir, which should be expected from Black movies, and of course, we're going to get into that. But I also want to break down other tropes and explore some other themes I picked up on that, to me, reveal a lot about the collective self-esteem of the Black community, but especially Black men. These lessons ultimately serve to show the importance of a strong patriarch and how this absence ruins men, by proxy, ruining women and ultimately society.
I've read a lot of studies that say that not having a dominant male figure at home is so detrimental to a child.
31 candles. I need 31 candles on that cake.
Well, there's only 10 in the pack, so...
What do you mean only 10? Why is there only 10?
Because I did not have enough change left over to get another pack of candles.
I present to you Uncle Reem, my royal consigliere.
That's Italian for Mac Daddy Mentor. When y'all was out here riding elephants and chasing Tarzan.
Wait a minute. Just wait.
My mistake. Continue.
I was schooling this boy on the streets of Queens.
I did not have enough change left over to get another pack of candles.
You need no other teacher than your king and your father.
I am a man who has never tied his own shoes before.
Do you think that not having that kind of male role model could put you at a disadvantage?
Ma!
The prince from Queens.
I'm in my 30s now.
The plot and characters' actions in both movies demonstrate the Black male worshipping culture that exists today, which ultimately serves to say that Black men are the prize, a backwards, dysfunctional lie that is the underlying reason for much of the discord within the Black community. The first movie is more obvious with this theme by having the entire plot center on women proving themselves to Prince Akeem rather than the opposite. He hasn't demonstrated anything that shows him to be a viable mate. They have no idea he's even a prince, and yet these Black women are auditioning for him. Then in the sequel, this theme is demonstrated through the fact that Akeem is deemed unworthy because it is believed he did not create a son of his own, along with the plot line of trying to shape his bastard's alleged potential into the strong patriarch they so desperately need. In both movies, rather than treating these men as men with responsibilities and expectations, the community infantilizes them, showing the total lack of accountability for Black men within the community. They are not strong individuals capable of facing obstacles. They are children that cannot think for themselves and so must have everything handled for them.
Oh, it is my 21st birthday. You think perhaps just once I might use the bathroom by myself?
Close the music, son.
Akeem's entire enthusiasm towards America comes off as extremely childlike. He didn't even put any research into where he was going and brings loads of luggage with luxury goods, despite his insistence that he wanted to appear as a commoner. But maybe that was just to keep up appearances with his parents. Fine. Either way, I'm genuinely annoyed that he ends up getting the girl by the end of the movie, especially considering he lied to her the entire time. His motivations literally don't make sense. He wants a woman to love him for him, so he pretends to be someone he isn't. Okay. Clearly, being a prince has had a huge effect on his identity, so how could any woman love his true self without knowing his upbringing? He didn't even apologize to her for lying, just made excuses for why he was justified. Their confrontation shifts the focus from his lies and makes it seem like Lisa is upset that he is a prince, but remember, she was already dating Daryl. She broke up with him because he was an asshole who didn't respect her autonomy, not solely because he was rich. I feel like his whole motivation for divesting has less to do with him wanting a wife and more to do with his repressed masculinity acting out. Based off of the first film, Zumunda's culture basically associates manhood with promiscuity, and the value of a wife is based solely off of her sex appeal. Because of this cultural lesson, Akeem also associates growing up with finding a wife. So his quest for a wife is his own coming-of-age story, with his decision to defy his overbearing parents being his way of reclaiming his manhood through finding a woman he chose. Seeing the way his father is, it's no wonder that Akeem isn't actually a high-quality man. The king taught him nothing of kinghood and what it means to establish and fulfill a legacy, a moral that would have been a way better movie. But instead, we get this tired propaganda of accepting a black man, flaws and all, and how you must prove your worthiness of a happy ending through holding him down. This is the second problematic message of these films. They treat the masculine principle of provision as an afterthought, if not outright demonizing it altogether. Daryl is the heir to a legacy, much like Akeem. The difference between them being that Daryl doesn't mind wearing the face of a provider, while Akeem is content with appearing as the broke nice guy. And of course, Daryl is framed as undesirable. The ideal love interests of both movies serve as propaganda for the toxic ride-or-die attitude that is pervasive throughout Black culture. When offered the opportunity to be provided for, Lisa insists that she's a strong, independent woman who don't care about those material things, and Marimbe was about to get married in this raggedy church and live a struggle life in the ghetto. It's funny though, Lisa didn't initially throw away the expensive earrings, nor revoke a life of royalty, and Marimbe ends up confessing how unhappy she is with Lavelle's shotgun wedding.
This doesn't feel right.
I've said it once, and I'll say it again. Femininity requires safety and comfort. The Black community has normalized struggling to the point that any effort towards elevation and standards are seen as Eurocentric, the motivations for doing so ultimately being to distract from Black men's past and present failings. There is absolutely no honor in perpetual struggle. In fact, if you aren't making any progress, it is because you are doing something wrong. Failure and experience are the best teachers, but only if you actually put forth the effort to learn from them. To all the Black girls and women out there, I know most people don't tell you this, but it's okay to want a comfortable life. You deserve nice things, but only when you feel that you deserve nice things. The universe only provides and confirms what you believe in, so choose your thoughts and path wisely. Money might not outright buy happiness, but it certainly makes it more affordable. The lesson to be learned from both Akeem and Daryl's characters is that there is no difference between a broke man and a rich man who is stingy. Daryl talks a good talk, but that's it, all talk. All we do is see him talk about providing, but when given the opportunity to demonstrate his value, he never follows through. A provider is going to provide. He won't just talk about it, and he will take pride in doing so. Of course, provided that he is getting something out of it, which would be the reward of your femininity. And no, contrary to what Lisa's misguided sister thinks, that is not strictly in reference to your love box.
He's not gonna give you earrings like that unless you're giving him a little booty.
After all, Akeem bought Lisa those earrings and donated to her charity before he'd even kissed her. Putting this in the movie hints at the fact that men are very much aware that the feminine women they desire require evidence of their ability to provide. But at face value, this only serves to put out the misguided message that Black women need to focus on a man's potential. Remember, during both of these instances, Akeem is still pretending to be broke, which goes back to that Frog Prince propaganda of basing your decisions and feelings for a man off of his potential. He's not actually broke, he's just waiting on you to prove your value, even though he's the one who initiated the pursuit. So just hold him down and you'll see. It'll all work out eventually at some undetermined date in the future. The fact that there wasn't a single positive Black man in this series goes to show how Black men low-key feel about themselves. especially American black men, since most or all of these actors are American. Other demographics might also have some negative stereotypical imagery in their media, but the difference between them and the black community is they are going to make sure that they balance that out by having corrective promotion. First of all, the black American men are...
What the fuck do you want?
Some characters. Of all the ways to promote yourselves, why are these the visuals you want to put out? In the name of comedy? So you enjoy being the butt of the joke.
Okay.
I also feel like there's a diss in the fact that the only successful black American runs a restaurant that is a knockoff of a white-owned brand, and this is supposed to be humorous, almost like they're implying that a self-made black man is a joke. Come to think of it, why couldn't they have made him a successful restaurateur who makes healthy, innovative food? Wakanda doesn't need any fast food. But wait, they're introducing healthy options. Oh, awesome. No, it's not awesome because the food is disgusting. This is problematic for other reasons I could get into, but I want to keep the focus on the relationships. Speaking of Mr. McDowell, it's disappointing but unsurprising that he also isn't a good father. This is based on the fact that the movie only shows him showing interest in Lisa, never mind what men his dark-skinned daughter is entertaining, but it's not like that favor is out of genuine concern for her best interest. The only reason Mr. McDowell is okay with Lisa marrying Akeem is because he finds out Akeem is a prince, which at first glance seems like he's being a good father by wanting a man who can provide for his daughter, until we remember that Akeem is a liar and ignorant. And remember that he also pushed Daryl onto Lisa, despite Lisa making it clear she wasn't happy with him, and Daryl having an extremely questionable character. Akeem's father is no better despite being a king. He is extremely misogynistic, and the way he encourages his son to be promiscuous promotes the negative stereotype of black men being lustful whores who only think with their penis. By the second movie, he's admonishing his son for being a weak patriarch, and of course, he's totally justified. I mean, it's not like schooling his son in the ways and responsibilities of masculinity was his job or anything. Although, I have to say that the king admitting he spoiled Akeem low-key absolves Akeem of his own responsibility for his insufficiencies. Akeem is 50 years old at this point. Why is it that he didn't take it upon himself to take on any of the traits desired of a king, knowing that he was the only heir? This is once again infantilizing him. He isn't even accountable for being a deadbeat dad, since his illegitimate son was apparently conceived through an assault and he wasn't even aware of his existence. I could mention the fact that Leslie Jones taking advantage of him elicits an emasculating subliminal message, but... oh wait, I guess I just did. The second movie could have very easily had a plot centered on Akeem finding his daughter an actually viable husband, one who respects and cherishes her in addition to being an effective patriarch, but no. That would require actual effort and corrective promotion of black women and girls, something that the collective society, black or white, is very much not interested in. Instead, what we have to deal with is watching Eddie Murphy and friends once again divesting from this big-ass continent that is inexplicably completely devoid of effective dark-skinned male leadership to pour their energy into his dusty-ass son who, number one,
doesn't even go here,
and number two, offers absolutely nothing to demonstrate that he has the makings of a leader within him. He is an overgrown man-child who has built absolutely nothing, but he is black and male, therefore he is seen as an invaluable asset. And of course, it must be pointed out that once again, the man deemed the ideal leader is not a dark-skinned black man. Except that he doesn't even end up becoming the leader. He abandons his responsibility, leaving the community open to attack. This masculine responsibility falls on who? Akeem's dark-skinned, unambiguous black daughter. Of course. Our introduction to Joaquim's bastard was cringy, not just because of his interaction with Tracy Morgan, but because of the way he stood up to the interviewer. The interviewer was, of course, oozing microaggressions, but it's very telling that Lavelle stood up to him, not when he disrespected his mother, but when he started to pry into Lavelle's daddy issues. We're supposed to be rooting for him, but this whole interaction just sounds like he's projecting his jealousy.
Do you think that not having that kind of male role model could put you at a disadvantage?
No more of a disadvantage than having a father who handed you your position.
Handed? I was not handed anything.
So you're saying Daddy never donated a building to get you into an Ivy League school?
No. Yeah. Well, there was a small off-campus library.
And Daddy never had to sneak you into an overpriced rehab facility to cover up a cocaine addiction, Calvin?
It was Oxy, and my mom took me.
Calvin's dad made sure he got into a good school, gave him a job, and his parents got him help for his substance abuse. And he should be embarrassed?
Okay.
It is literally our parents' job to care about us and set us up for the best life possible. He'd be able to start his healing process if he was actually honest about his own issues. Clearly, not having a father affected you. You are 30 years old, living with your mother in the ghetto, and think it's appropriate to wear flannel and Timbs to a job interview. Now, there is definitely a conversation to be had and a point to be made about the fact that both of these movies were directed by white men. But I feel that the focus needs to be kept on the black men involved. Black people signing up for these stereotypical roles not only connotes that they are okay with being depicted in this problematic manner, but that they also agree with these depictions. And the same goes for all the black people who supported these films at the box office. The only celebrated patriarch in this movie was a light-skinned black man. Every dark-skinned black man was either emasculated, hostile, or otherwise depicted negatively. This is not a coincidence. I mentioned corrective promotion in my analysis of the Why Did I Get Married series. A huge part of white men's power is related to their promotion of their counterparts. So, it stands to reason that a large part of black men's powerlessness in society comes from their allowance of self-deprecating depictions of themselves, as well as the depictions of black women. Let's get into the misogynoir.
Thank you very much.
You mean Akeem's the prince?
Yeah, and he's in love with Lisa.
How come she always gets the good ones?
I am a man who has never tied his own shoes before.
Y'all know I was a hoe though, right? Y'all know I was out in these streets?
You was the hoe.
I wouldn't sell it. I should have been selling it.
Show respect. She is still the mother of my son.
She took the royal jet. Thieving bitch.
For those of you who don't know, misogynoir is a portmanteau, a combination of two words. Those two words being misogyny and noir. Misogyny is the hatred of women. Noir is the French word for black. So, misogynoir is the specific hatred of black women. Black men's allowance of misogynoir and preference for women who look nothing like themselves ultimately comes down to low self-esteem. They show this in the way they allow themselves to be portrayed, but also in the portrayals they allow and actively promote of unambiguous black women. The only women on the planet that can give birth to unambiguous black men are unambiguous black women. If these men valued the skin they were in and were thankful for the genes they inherited from their mother's mitochondrial DNA, then they would uplift her image and protect her in the real world. You will never see the collective dominant society promoting a woman of color while degrading their own. Why? Because they have pride in who they are. George Lucas is married to a black woman, but guess who the heroines and love interests in his films are? Take it a step further and look at some of the black women who have won Academy Awards and compare their winning roles with the winning roles of white women. And then there is the modeling industry. This is what being on code looks like. Take a look at this scene. She's overweight, running late, rude, and of course, the joke is Akeem hoping she isn't his betrothed. But I have to ask,
Papa! Who this woman?
If this is Imani's mother, then why wasn't she present with the general already at his side? If she isn't Imani's mother, number one, why doesn't Imani have a mother? And number two,
Papa! Who this woman?
The only reason this scene is in the movie is to show dark-skinned black women in an unfavorable light. But wait, Akeem's mom is a dark-skinned black woman who is beautiful, kind, and gracious. Doesn't her character balance out this negative stereotype? I would love to say yes, but unfortunately, there are a few nuances to her character that I picked up on that caused me to say this still isn't corrective promotion. In the first scene of the movie, the queen removes herself from the head of the table to sit next to her son, rather than remaining by her husband's side. When talking with Akeem about love, she mentions how she grew to love his father, but his father, interestingly, doesn't say anything about growing to love her. At the major celebrations, she is always shown standing at the king's side rather than sitting on a throne like her counterpart. Compare this with Akeem and his wife. And then, when Akeem's parents are meeting Lisa's dad, there is a scene where her father low-key manhandles the queen and faces absolutely no repercussions for it. Each of these parts connotes that the queen's value doesn't come from her literally being a queen, the feminine counterpart to the king. Her value and any respect delegated to her is simply because she is Akeem's mother. In the whole series, the only unambiguous black mothers are the ones who've given birth to sons. Akeem himself doesn't even respect or value her for this though, considering he went all the way across the ocean to find a woman from a totally different culture who looks nothing like his mother. This ultimately comes from him internalizing his own father's demonstrated disrespect towards his mother. The king even admits that he isn't faithful to his wife, being adulterous with his bathers. Also, note the phenotype of these women. Internalized disrespect is also why Lavelle has the audacity to take his fiancée from her comfortable life in a palace to go play power couple in the ghetto. The struggle was normalized to him via watching his mother do it, and he, of course, didn't have a proper male role model. The other thing to note about the dark-skinned mothers is the way they insist their dusty sons are worthy mates. Akeem's mother encourages him to chase Lisa despite knowing how spoiled he was and despite her ignorance to the circumstances surrounding their romance. She wants to see her son happy. That's all that matters. And then Lavelle's mom...
So be a prince. Be a prince. Now you go enjoy that bath. All right, Mike. Thank you. Go get washed. We got to move.
Wait a damn minute.
That speaks for itself. Aside from Queen Aeolian, the black women are objectified and characterized as Jezebels and otherwise non-wifey material. Not even the eldest princess is exempt from this propaganda. In the opening scene, Akeem's lighter-skinned daughters are all dressed in virginal white dresses that preserve their modesty, while Mika is the only one wearing a brightly colored and more revealing outfit. Going back to the first movie, the scene of Akeem meeting the general's daughter Imani is a very revealing look into the dynamics between unambiguous black men and women. They frame the scene to be exaggerated and comical so you don't take it seriously, but honestly...
Making noise like an orangutan.
Ah! I see the two of you are getting along.
There's nothing funny about this. First of all, the very fact that she says she was raised to do Akeem's bidding exposes the way unambiguous black women are indoctrinated to continue the generational curse of the black male worshipping culture. Having her make the animal noises is subliminally dehumanizing and humiliating, especially when we see that she's still doing it in the sequel. But these scenes ultimately show how ridiculous it is for black women to treat black men as a prize, especially when you consider that Prince Akeem hasn't done anything to be deserving of this level of submission.
Do you think perhaps just once I might use the bathroom by myself?
When we consider that the entire sequel was spent finding a replacement and drumming it into the audience's head that he is inferior when compared to his father, it highlights that he never actually grew up and became a man. He gets to live like a king without having to deal with any of the responsibility. As for his son, he ends up turning his back on his responsibilities because he thinks it's a better idea to try to build something in Queens, with the help of his bride, mind you, while his sister is left with the task of upholding the legacy and fending off threats. Even if this is what Mika wants, it is not given to her because it's what she wanted. It's given to her because indirectly, it's what Lavelle wanted.
We gotta bust out of this bullshit, man.
I will say that the fact that the eager-to-please women are seen as undesirable is an important lesson that all women, but especially black women, can learn from. It essentially serves to show that men never value the women who make it easy for them and chase them. Understand that men are not and will never be the prize. You are. They are the ones who are supposed to be proving themselves to you. The egg doesn't chase the sperm. I can't even say they meet halfway. She simply minds her business, doing her, and waits for the best, most worthy sperm to come to her. As women, we can only amplify what we are given. A key indication of the quality of any society is the way it treats their women. Happy wife, happy life is true not just because karma is female, but also because of our biological function. Women are the primary caretakers of the offspring, and the biggest factor affecting the kind of adults those offspring become is their childhood. If the women are abused, how are they supposed to care for and about their children? There's been a lot of talk of dismantling gender roles, but there are certain aspects that are more nature than nurture. It is only natural for children to be closer to their mothers, as they literally come from them. Our mothers literally gave us life through them birthing us, but they continue this through the fact that they possess our food source. Even if you don't breastfeed, it's still an instinct to associate the mother with food, aka nourishment, aka life. There is also the esoteric significance that I've discussed before. Chaos is feminine, and chaos always seeks to return to itself unless balanced with order. We all start off as female in the womb, with our sex being determined based off of the chromosomes we receive from our father. In the 3D plane, children cling to their mothers until they are shown that they are safe, ideally through their fathers demonstrating protection and provision, which helps facilitate their own inner masculinity that translates into confidence, courage, and initiative. The lesson is that the feminine energy of the world can only flourish with a healthy, strong, confident masculine, which is demonstrated through seeing their mother being well taken care of by their father and herself. Us taking care of ourselves, of course, sets the best example for our daughters, but it also sets the example to our sons of what kind of treatment women need to flourish. When it comes to rearing our sons, we have a responsibility to do our best to ensure he will grow into an ideal mate. And that starts with putting ourselves first and making sure our mate is the best man for the job. I'm talking about black issues, not just because they affect black women the most, setting y'all up from birth to be sacrificial lambs, neglected doormats, and iron punching bags, but also because these lessons are universal. Remember the words of Ralph Richard Banks. The Black community is a microcosm of the larger society. The issues presented are not exclusive to Black people, they're just more pervasive. When you are divesting, remember to vet all men. They are not the prize, no matter their culture or color. When we talk about Black women divesting, this doesn't just mean divesting from Black men. Divesting means leaving behind the entire toxic culture of Blackistan and any limiting beliefs that tell y'all to settle or otherwise normalize dysfunction. These movies were made a whole 3 decades apart from each other, yet the imagery didn't improve. If anything, it got worse. As I pointed out, there wasn't corrective promotion for Black women or Black men. When the men of your community have themselves divested from the community due to low self-esteem, everyone suffers due to the fact that this also means they won't enforce any standards or boundaries for that community. Low self-esteem is synonymous with low confidence, and confidence is the motivator that inspires us to move forward and seek better, which is essential for masculinity and femininity to thrive. If he can't motivate himself to build a world that would keep you safe, then he is not a man that can be trusted to keep you safe. Ultimately meaning that you will never be able to rest comfortably in your femininity. How can you truly believe a man wants what's best for you when he is content with watching you struggle? The ongoing narrative for unambiguous Black women is that you only have 2 options: settling or indefinite singleness. If you even think about dating out, you're a race traitor because Black men are doing their best and massa is the devil. Of course, the ramifications of racism can't and shouldn't be ignored. As I mentioned earlier, these movies were directed by white men, and we know Hollywood is a PWI. But white men would not have been able to get away with any of what they've done and do if Black men didn't let them. White men don't allow Black men to disrespect their women because they understand the politics of maintaining power.
Y'all see her, and y'all see me. When you see her, you see me. When you see me, you see her. Period.
When a man shows he is unable or unwilling to protect your image and your actual person, yielding to the will of another, he is, by definition, proving the opposing man to be the stronger one. At that point, he is showing you your femininity will never be able to flourish in his presence. So that is your cue to take your things and go. This is literally the way it is done in nature. In the animal species where the females aren't eating the unsatisfactory males, the male's access to the females is contingent upon his ability to provide while she rears the offspring, or his ability to defend the females against other males. When a male gets defeated by a stronger one, the females don't continue to give him access to their bodies in the hopes that he will rise again. They simply move on. As wonderful as industrialization is, it's shown itself to be a double-edged sword that has caused us to become more and more removed from spirit, aka our roots, which is also symbolic for the way femininity has collectively been neglected. Thankfully, this is changing with the age of Aquarius, waking up many light workers who are now getting to work, offering healing to those who need, but more importantly, want it. Healing your spiritual and physical self means recognizing that its health is completely dependent upon the energy you give and receive. It's not just the literal energy we get from the food we eat. It's also our own thoughts we dwell on and the media we consume. A lot of us are mindlessly consuming media with no regard to the way it is affecting our subconscious, only for us to appear confused and hopeless when our lives are not ideal. It's important for me to talk about this stuff because there are narratives going on that need to be changed and challenged. At face value, my channel is about educating women on femininity and esotericism in general, but on a deeper level, I'm hoping to help you awaken and strengthen your intuition, enabling you to be adept at spotting the manipulation of energy vampires. At At the end of the day, your journey is your own, so put yourself first and drop anything that doesn't help you become your best self. Inspect any information presented to you with a critical eye and incorporate it with a grain of salt. I'm not here to convince you to do anything you don't want to do. If you're truly happy following the steps of our ancestors, then by all means, wash, rinse, and repeat. It is important, however, to make sure you are getting the full picture. I'm here to show you the other possibilities you weren't told about, ultimately breaking down the matrix so you can see it for what it is. Whether you leave or stay is totally up to you. You are the master of your own destiny, so make sure that whatever choices you make are properly informed and, in fact, a genuine choice, as opposed to a resignation. I want to give a special shout out to Mocha Mommy for sending over some of her subscribers, and welcome all of you to my channel. Thanks so much for watching and listening, and I'll see you ladies in the next video.